Hey everyone, you're listening to the Active Turnkey Podcast, a podcast designed for hands-off, passive real estate rental investors. In the Active Turnkey Podcast, you'll hear Tom Olson and Jared Stoltmeister discuss all things turnkey rentals with other turnkey providers, service providers, and rental investors. Our goal is to help you reach your financial freedom and whatever comes after that. Let's go. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Active Turnkey Podcast. I'm your host, Jared Stoltmeister, with owner Tom Olson.
I was told I was supposed to wear a Christmas sweater today, Jared.
Yeah, we decided to be festive.
Sweater.
This is as Christmas as I'm going to go. This is a Christmas sweater. It's a.
Oh my word!
It's not a.
I had to wear a Christmas sweater, and you get to wear Cubs.
Yeah. Well, that's how I kind of get in control of things.
Unbelievable. Anyways,
I don't. Yeah, this is about as
the
Christmas
Yeti
as I
is
do.
my favorite Christmas character.
Okay.
Just so you know.
The Cubs apparently are my
Yes.
favorite Christmas characters. So yeah. Today this is our holiday episode,
Yes.
I guess you could say.
Yes, we were having a holiday episode. We
Mhm.
figured, why not?
Mm-hmm.
Also, it's at the end of the year,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and I think if you're ever going to be successful in life, you should probably do some planning.
That's correct.
So we're going to talk about that today. I
Yeah,
think.
the title of today's podcast is Turnkey Rental Year-End Review.
Ooh, I like it.
It's got all the keywords in it that would really help us as we're trying to circle back and think about what's happened in the year and what we've accomplished. And although 2020 has been interesting, this is more of a year in, year out type thing as you end every year.
Absolutely. I think there's some things that you should do every year at the beginning of the year, at the end of the year, monthly, quarterly, maybe weekly, depending on what business you're in. And that's what we're going to talk about, I think.
He thinks. So
I hope.
So
I just show up, just so everybody knows. I just show up to these podcasts and whatever Jared asks me, I just give him the answer.
It's true. I can't do that. I cannot just show up. I'm not that good. And I might not be that good anyway. But that's another conversation, right? But naturally, 2020 is just one of those years you just think about, hey, it is what it is. It's coming to a close. But like you said, every year, a year's coming to an end. You're going to reflect. You're going to think about, at that time of year, around Thanksgiving, Christmas, you're going to think about family and the time and how life happens.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to naturally be something you talk about. You're going to have personal
Things
goals.
happen. That should just be like the statement for 2020, right? Things happen.
That would be very accurate. I think everyone would understand. Everyone who is alive would understand what's happening. But this is not going to be really something about family necessarily, although we could mention that today. But it's going to be, again, like he said, turnkey review for the end of the year. But also about goals, like reflecting naturally. You would reflect on goals and how you're doing on those goals.
Mm-hmm.
But again, today's podcast, we're going to look into, reflect on people who have, or at least part of the podcast, people who have helped us throughout our time. And not just here in the business, but also looking back over time, over the last few years even, of people who have had an impact in our lives and who have, as particular with turnkey rentals or with real estate. And so I'd start with you, Tom. So Tom, can you share somebody, a person who has had a major impact in your life? You can say over the last 20 years or the most recent years, but somebody who's had an impact in your life, either in turnkey rentals or real estate.
Well, gosh, to me, a lot of it, I get asked this question quite often, and a lot of it started when I read
I thought this question
the book.
was original.
No. I read
Okay,
the
fair
book
enough.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad when I was like 19 years old. And honestly, if somebody were to say, where did it all begin? Like, it probably began when I read that book, when I started understanding the 4 quadrants, when I started understanding the difference between being an employee, being self-employed, which, is kind of good to a certain degree. It's a little bit better than sometimes being an employee. I think, although I think being an employee sometimes can be just as good because you have actual freedom when you go home for the most part.
It's true.
And you don't take the risk that somebody that's a self-employed takes on as well. And then there's the business owner, and then there's the investor. And when I started understanding those 4 quadrants, it really kind of started making me think. As far as people that have had a significant impact on what I'm doing and what where we're going, I mean, probably the 3 people that I would mention the most is probably Josh Belk, who probably listens to this podcast. He's part of our mastermind. He's my brother-in-law. He's my accountant. I've had so many tax conversations with him going back 20 plus years. Back when he was in accounting school, and I was reading, the 1995. Sorry, I read the 1995 tax code book, which at that time was only about this big, and it's about 4 or 5 inches. Now I think it's like, the tax code is like larger than this room.
That sounds awesome.
But
I love reading.
It was horrible. Honestly, it was great, but it was horrible at the same time. But I think real estate is one of those things that has so many tax advantages that people don't even understand, because they only look at, especially the investors that only look at the cash flow aspect of it.
Sure.
Until you really understand tax code and tax implications and everything else that's going on, there's so much hidden benefit in a real estate rental that most people don't know. So, and he's helped me kind of really understand that to a certain degree. My wife, I would have to mention my wife, who's always been there, and really, like, we've had so many, pushing forward conversations where we added another corporate rental to our portfolio yesterday, and so we're always kind of doing things together. And then the only other person that I can kind of really point to say, hey, like, they were a catalyst, or they kind of made a shift, for me, was David Phelps. And honestly, he's the one that really kind of made me switch over from just like doing to having a plan and saying, hey, you can become financially free. And that's why I'm so passionate about financial freedom, because I feel like it is something that I think everybody ought to have their own financial freedom plan. So if you're asking me, who has had a difference in me, I think those are the people I would talk about. But I think going back to our kind of why we're doing this podcast, I think at the end of the year is a great time to kind of sit back and go over how last year went. So when we talk about reflect, it is kind of like going through the whole year and saying, okay, what things were good? What happened good in this year? Question. Right? What things maybe were surprises? What are the surprising things that kind of happened that we didn't really know were going to happen at the beginning of the year?
Is it okay if I take notes?
You can take notes, absolutely, okay. Jared.
Fair enough.
Jared, you should actually know these, because every time we have a quarterly meeting and yearly meeting, we go over these things. So
of course I know.
Yes. And then I also think it's I was actually asked this question recently on a I'm not sure what you want to call it, a webinar. It was a fireside chat type of deal. And they asked me, what are you doing? What should people do to prepare for 2021, right? And I'm going to kind of answer it the same way. I think the very first thing you need to do is understand that you need to prepare for 2021. And part of preparing for 2021 is reflecting and reviewing how last year went. What were our goals for last year? Did we hit them or not? If we didn't hit them, why didn't we hit them?
Sure.
And if we smash them, well, what do we do to smash them? What are the good things that happened? And then also, what are the things that we learned about last year? What happened in 2020 that we learned, hey, going forward, this needs to be our policy. This needs to be our stance. And then I think the next thing is, what are we going to stop doing? Before we even get into like, what do we want to do next year, you have to kind of stop doing things sometimes in order to replace that time with the better activities. So, for me, I think it's also a really good time to remember why you got into this in the first place. So why did you actually start buying rentals? And remind yourself and say, hey, I think for most people it is financial freedom.
Sure.
And I think that that's a great goal to have. For me personally, I don't want to have financial freedom just so I can retire. I don't really believe in retirement. I want financial freedom so I can go and do other things, and so I can use that money as a conduit to be able to help other people in need. Why did you get into it in the first place? I think is something that we ought to be writing down. Why am I doing this? So remember, why you're doing this, and then like you said, I think it's also a great time to remember who has helped us, in that. I think, maybe towards the end of this podcast, we're going to even review some of the people that have helped us and some of the people that have done things for us. But I think, another great exercise at the end of the year is to do a SWOT analysis, SWOT, which stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. And I think you would just write them down on a piece of paper, SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, and just come up with, 3 to 5 at least, even for you as a turnkey investor. I would come up with those things and I would just write them down and be like, it's sometimes it's great to just kind of see it on paper, and then it's really easy to be like, oh, I need to make some decisions. And that's kind of, you know, what we'll do as a leadership team, and I think businesses do this all the time, but you have to understand every single property is almost like a mini business.
Sure.
So thinking about that, you know, what level are you in right now? Where are you at in that journey? You know, so if you set a goal to have, you know, say $10,000 a month in passive income, where are you at now? It's a time to kind of be like, okay, maybe I'm at $2,000 a month right now, or maybe I'm at $6,000 a month right now, and you know, and then starting to make those key goals. Okay, where am I going to be at the end of 2021? How, you know, where in that financial freedom plan, or maybe it's a different, you know, business plan for you as well. But I think in that SWOT analysis, you might come up with some key issues and understanding what key issues you might want to solve going into next year. And then I think it's a great time also to read.
Sure.
You know, a lot of us get some time off, so pick up an extra book, pick up something that you think that you can, you know, I think it's the worst thing that we can do sometimes, just to kind of be lazy and get fat over the 2 weeks of the holidays and not do anything. You know, so just, you know, and what personal things do we need to start doing next year as well? So you also may want to review marketing plans. I would recommend joining a mastermind, but that's just, you know, a selfish plug for Good Success Mastermind. But other than that, you know, like I said, I think it is a great time to remember the people that have helped you get to where you are now, and that people that are just helping you now. I think, you know, for us, one of the highlights for me in the whole year is our Christmas party. And unfortunately, this year we're not going to be able to do a big shindig like we normally would do with kids and family and Santa Claus and all that, because it put us way over, you know, 50 people, and right now we're under some restrictions for size of you know, events that we can hold without having the health department involved, and I don't really want to have that happen. So we're going to do a Christmas party, but just with our employees. I think it's a good time to help let people know that you appreciate them, and if you can afford it, you know, give bonuses. If you can afford it, you know, I would send people that have had you know, a part of your life this year, at least a Christmas card, but maybe some kind of a Christmas gift. I know for us in our companies, we sent these out at Thanksgiving time, because I really like Thanksgiving. I think it's one of those forgotten holidays. And I think that, you know, people get Christmas gifts and I wouldn't say they expect it, but I think they don't expect something at Thanksgiving time. So that's something I prefer to do. I prefer to send out, you know, end of year gifts for Thanksgiving. So we did that for all of our owners, all of our lenders, and I just think it's important. Sometimes just a handwritten card can be, you know, a special touch that will let somebody know that you appreciate them. And I think it's one of the most important things that we can do is to be thankful. And to just it'll change our whole perspective on life, and it'll also give us hope. And it will also help us realize how lucky we really are, especially the people that live in America. That I know we actually have people that are listening to this podcast that don't live in America. But most of you, if you're listening to this, you probably are, you know, probably pretty well off in the countries that you are in as well. But that's really, I think, it. I mean, Jared, I think, you know, maybe talking more about the specific people that have helped you or helped us, or
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. You started off by referencing an author, you know, a book. You know, when you give thanks, you're giving thanks to people who, you know, have impact in your life, and naturally you should. But it's interesting that you started off with, you know, Rich Dad Poor Dad, and how it's interesting that and you mentioned reading a little bit later, and how that can really reshape your worldview, whatever that looks like, or help you learn, and we should be thankful for those things. You know, you kind of expect that return a little bit when you buy the book and you hear those things, but they really can change your life.
Well, you know what's really interesting is because I can't say that I have a tremendous amount of respect for Robert Kiyosaki. I mean, unfortunately, I met him last year or the year before, and I was so excited because I was just like, you know, this guy has been somebody that I've read, and his books I think are amazing, and the content in the books are amazing. But when you actually meet him and actually see him and actually, you know, realize some of the things about him, you get a little too close almost. You realize, like, I don't want to be anything like this guy from his own personal morality and his own personal, things, but like the wisdom in the book. So it's like I still think have to be thankful for what he's given, and I think that that's true with everybody. A lot of times we get close to people and we realize, oh, they're not perfect.
That's a real
right.
person.
Jared's found this out about me many times. Tom is not perfect. I have found this out about Jared many times. But you know what? We still have to be thankful, and think about your spouse. I mean, we've been married. Me and my wife just celebrated 23 years, and I can tell you, like, she's not perfect, and she can tell you that I'm not perfect, but I still appreciate the things that I appreciate about her, and I still appreciate her for who she is and the things that she does for me. So I think especially at the end of the year, it's a great time to be able, think about it, even your kids and even your family members and even your parents. I'm assuming it's kind of like a natural time for everybody to do it, but I think being more purposeful about it, and sometimes, like I said, the handwritten note, or we just don't get that anymore today. So that's what I think this podcast is, just to kind of encourage you to remember those people and to be thankful at this time of the year and be a giver.
Sure. And I'd be remiss not to thank Tom for his influence for me, and this is not in the notes. Tom,
I think Jared wants me to give him I'm giving him money.
A raise. He's supposed to sign this while we're in here. That's later. I haven't buttered him up yet, but no. I thinking back, I just shot him a text a little bit a couple days ago, just thinking back to starting to work with Tom. I worked in a job I wasn't really happy, and Tom brought me in and had no experience.
And now he's happy.
I'm very happy, man. It's amazing how blessed we are, and I had the opportunity to learn through real estate, and actually love what we do. We love being able to provide opportunities for our clients, because, like you said, it's something you're passionate about, and I begin to invest, and so now I'm building my own portfolio, and to be able, it's one of the things I get to enjoy talking about with investors when we're on our first phone call, is that how awesome it is to be able to do something that I do. I get to provide something that I believe in, I'm actively doing. So to sell something and to help somebody with something that I'm actively doing myself, it's what we believe in. It's really exciting.
And it's cool because like when we sell houses, we know that we're not really selling a house. We know we're actually selling freedom. We're actually selling financial independence. We're really selling what the outcome of is that. I mean, you could say we're selling money. We're selling. I mean, there's many things that we're actually selling, but really at the end of the day, it's what does that money provide? And I think I firmly believe there are several people that I can point back to and say, we as a company have basically been the catalyst or one of the key catalysts to their personal financial freedoms. And it's a really good feeling to be able to have, to be able to know that you are working with your hands a thing which is good, you're doing something good for somebody else, and we're providing a service, and yes, we get paid for that service, but we know it's a good service, and we know that we're being honest, and we know we have integrity in it, and then we're doing it for the right reason. We're trying to take that, and then for us, we have lots of missions and lots of things that we are trying to give to and trying to help other people with.
It was an interesting day. We were wholesaling, and one year we sold over 300 houses in a year, which was a pretty big deal. I think at the time we were the biggest in Northwest Indiana as far as wholesalers, and so we were selling houses. And then once we really got into turnkeys, I quickly realized we were no longer selling houses. We were selling we're selling money. Sure, we're selling financial freedom. And then after that, even realizing, like you said, that even getting to financial freedom, that's just part of it. It's whatever comes after that. So I feel like that's what we sell too. We sell whatever comes after financial freedom, and the ability to help partner with you to get you somewhere where you believe you should be, what you were created to do. And so it's really exciting. It kind of gets you back when you really start thinking about those things. And so, definitely we wanted to go down that road. And so along that same line, we would challenge you to ask yourself those same questions. Who has had impact maybe this year or even in your life as you've been working? And of course, this can be outside of real estate, but this is a real estate podcast, a turnkey podcast. And so, reach out to those people who have had an impact with you, who have provided services, or who have aided you as you've learned, who have helped you get educated with this, and be thankful. I think it would really help your spirit, first of all, but also let those people know that what they're doing matters, that it's been profitable for them. and encouragement is always something that everyone appreciates.
Well, I think the other thing is, too, if you think of the word Thanksgiving, and I know we're past Thanksgiving, but the word Thanksgiving literally means giving thanks. This is why I get frustrated when people go right from Halloween to Christmas. You go to the stores, as soon as Halloween's over, then it's Christmas all of a sudden. And it's frustrating to me because I think that there should be a time where you stop and you don't just kind of think about the people that you're thankful for, but you also go out and give that thanks. That's a form of giving. And, I firmly believe that giving the thanks and actually calling somebody or texting somebody or writing a handwritten note of appreciation or giving somebody a gift of appreciation is that next level that really actually opens up the door for so many more blessings for us to have. I have this statement that I use a lot in Good Success called "Be a conduit, not a bucket." And if you're a conduit, you're always looking to be able to accept in, and you're always looking to be able to give out. And a lot of times our conduits are full. We basically put a lid on one of our sides of our conduit, we become a bucket. And at that point, we get so much and we really can't take it in anymore because we're so full. And we end up being full of ourselves. So by releasing that and by giving to other people, I really firmly believe it allows us to be able to have more opportunity, to be able to have more, to be able to give more. It's kind of a circle there. So I think giving thanks is one of those things too that we have to do. If we don't give thanks, then I don't believe that God lets us be thanked by other people because we're not doing that first and releasing that into the world.
So we're going to transition into a giving thanks. We're going to do that right now. We're going to finish the rest of the podcast giving thanks to people who have had an impact here with us, particularly the year 2020. But we're going to start here at home. We're going to start here with the people at Olson Group. So first of all, I'm going to say thank you to Tom and Becky, our owners of our companies. And if he starts talking about all the things that he's involved in, you might need a little bit of time for that. He's got a lot going on. But we want to thank Olson Group wants to thank Tom and Becky Tom and his wife Becky for all the things that they do for us and providing opportunities for us to not only work but to work and do some things that we enjoy and help people. And so we wanted to start with that first of all. So thank you, Tom.
Well, thank you, Jared.
And if Becky was here, I'd say thank you.
Thank you,
and
Becky.
Also tease her. Yeah.
Yes, we should definitely tease her.
Yeah. I also want to thank our team. So we'll start, since this is an Olson Group podcast, we want to start with our Olson Group team. And so as we build portfolios for investors, there are a lot of things that have to happen in order that, and Tom even talks about that recently, how, for some people to buy and sell something, there's a quick turnaround. And for us, what we do, it's not a quick turnaround. It takes quite a bit of time. And a lot of it is just a lot of moving parts. And so different people. So it starts at the very beginning. Actually, Becky, Tom's wife, helps us with acquisitions, and Manny and Adam, and all three of them, they focus hard on bringing deals, and Tom helps us even as we vet them, but working really hard every day trying to get houses that we can acquire so that we can, at the right prices, so we can provide opportunities for you. And then we have Keith, who helps us with construction. He puts together the scopes of work, and Jessica. And then we have guys like Manny. I mentioned Manny with acquisitions, and Adam, and then we have Randy out in the field who helps with repairs, and Dwayne and Micah, and those guys are working hard. They're out there today, knocking out properties for you guys. So just a thank you to our team who are working hard, and of course we could not provide this without this team.
Absolutely, and don't forget, Chrisney, who also helps us with our books, and even Heather, who kind of is in charge, and she's in a little bit more of the upfront process of the acquisition. She's not really in acquisitions, right, but she's our lending coordinator. So every single time we get a deal in, she also has to reach out to one of our private lenders, which we have amazing private lenders. I know several of you that are listening are private lenders, and she does a really amazing job with that. And Christy does an amazing job overseeing the bookkeeping and the financials and making sure everybody gets paid every week as well, because people want to get paid.
I enjoy that.
And Lauren too. We should probably mention Lauren.
Lauren and Lindsay's.
Lauren. I guess we mention her, right?
Okay.
And hopefully she's listening just so she can know that we're making fun of her a little bit.
Sure.
And Lindsay's new with us as well, so definitely.
Finance is like the type of thing that works in the background. You don't think about it until payday, right? You think about it, but you know they're crazy busy the whole time, making sure everything's right.
But it has to happen. You have to get funding up front. You have to make sure the bills are paid and the contractors are paid and the employees are paid. So again, with being having our mastermind and things that we do and talk about with that, we talk that there's three major parts of a business. There is the sales and marketing, which you kind of talk about acquisitions. Also, Jared on the back end, he didn't mention himself, so Jared's a part of Olson Group. So
thank you, Jared.
Thank you, Jared, for that.
Okay.
He's a sales on the back end. So you have sales and marketing, right? And then you've got operations, which you talked a lot about when it comes to the people that are doing the actual work and the lining up contractors, and then you have finance and admin on the back end. So.
And that's all from Olson Group. And so what we do have other companies that are under this roof and who have actually quite a bit of contact with you. If you're a client of ours, if you're an investor who works with us, you're probably getting in touch by Olson Property Services. They're probably managing for you. And so Cheryl's our property manager. She leads that up, does a great job. And the team is always they're constantly looking for ways to improve and provide better service for you guys. And Julie is kind of like her right arm in there, and so she works really hard. It's so
sometimes
funny.
her right arm and her left arm.
Yeah, it's so great hearing them have conversations. They're perfect for what they do.
What's more funny is Julie with a 10.
I know. She's great. She it's just how it's going to go, and it's important. I'm sure you as an investor want that in as they manage, and so they also have Nicole helps them. And Clyde and Gene and Tim, he's the guy out in the field making sure everything's done right, coordinating with other contractors as well, making sure the repairs are done. And they manage 10 of my properties as well, so I'm very, very appreciative for the service that they provide. And
the leadership that Cheryl gives to that company is absolutely off the charts.
Stellar.
Couldn't ask for anything better. She really has been. She's especially this year. She's been amazing, and I think we've probably multiplied in how good a service and how good of a property management company we are this year. And like I said, the whole team just really comes together and does a really good job. Really appreciate Nicole for kind of doing the job she does, and Tim and Gene for getting utilities on and for helping, and even Clyde has kind of stepped up this year as well, handling some repairs. And Tim is always just Johnny on the spot, does a great job. And like I said, can't say enough about Julie, who gets to talk to the tenants sometimes when they're not happy, but she just gives it back to them, and she just has a great attitude about it, and really do appreciate the property management team.
We also have an education company here that Tom has mentioned to you before. He talks about Good Success. And so if you are interested at all in looking at anything about that, Tom's got tons of information. They have over 250 podcasts now. You guys are up.
Yep.
And so Junior helps with that team. Christine leads the team. And we also have Amelia and Aaron. And so they have a great team there and providing services here locally, especially with the 2020. They added the
virtual mastermind and the local mastermind and the national mastermind. So it is really just a mastermind community. If you're interested in that, you can also try to join you can join the Facebook group as well, the Good Success Facebook group. Or if you want more information about that, you can either check out goodsuccess.com, check us out on our podcast, or just email us at sales@goodsuccess.com.
So I really appreciate you guys being willing to be patient here with us. There's a lot of people that have helped us provide services to you, and I hope that maybe you'd even have a chance to jot a couple of these names down, because these are people who provide these opportunities for you. We have a few more. Becky leads up Sarah Joe, and this is like the company that has the investments and also the Airbnb properties.
We do our lending from that company today. We probably will change that at some point in the future and have our own separate lending company, but right now, also Adam works in that company as well. So Adam and Heather and Becky and Alyssa, they do a great job, and a lot of times super late at night, super early, weekends, Sundays, with turnovers for some of the vacation rentals that we have. But Becky does a great job leading up that company. Really appreciate her leadership for that. And even today she's out moving furniture from one house to another. But it's really a blessing to have that company doing so well as well right now in our midst.
So we have contractors we want to thank, and so I mean there's a litany of guys we can mention throughout this time, but we are a OCMS is a company, Olson Construction Management Company. They manage and they work with a lot of contractors, and so they're managing these general contractors on the job. And so we have several, 10, 15 guys that we work with consistently on top of our other subs that get stuff done. So if you've provided construction services, we really appreciate the work you do. Olson Group has raised its standards over the last few years, and we have a high demand, or excuse me, high standards, I should say, for what we want, and we want to provide a good product. And these guys are bringing it home. They're providing really good construction services for us.
Yeah, even in the retail space, I just talked to a realtor recently who sold one of our houses. She was the buyer's agent from one of our listings, and she was just like, she couldn't stop talking about, like, I can't believe you guys are doing this, and you guys are doing a really good job, and even the customer service back and forth, and even handling repairs on the inspection report, the closing, everything was, she was just really, really happy with us. And she's a local, a lady, and we work with several local realtors as well, and maybe you'll mention those or not, but so we do work with some, but then other people just know us from who we are in all the houses that we sell.
Yeah, so Becky Olson, Tom's wife, she also is an agent, so she's wearing lots of hats. We've referenced her several times, so she lists some for us. We also have Nicole Pleasant, her team, Michelle and Laura. They list properties for us as well, and we've had a lot of properties. The market has dictated that we went that direction with a lot of properties this year, more so than we anticipated, and so they've done a great job for us and provide tremendous service. All that through the listing leaders here locally. So if you're in the Northwest Indiana, or well, really there's a lot of states they're in now, right? They're all over the place. Listing leaders is up and coming, and that's all through Kevin Hutnick.
Yep, I love Kevin. So if you're listening, peace, Kevin.
Yeah, there you go. Kevin's he's
I'll
cool.
meet you in the Target parking lot.
There you go. Yeah. We also like to thank our lenders that we recommend. So they don't work for us. There's no affiliation. We just really like working with guys who get the job done. So Aaron Chapman, Jared Pedia, we want to thank you guys for providing excellent service for our clients. And it's been a difficult year for lenders. And a lot more hoops to follow. Things are taking a lot longer to close, and it's not due to anything that the lenders are doing. But we appreciate the service you provide and your leadership, your knowledge, your experience. It's very helpful for us as we try to help our clients.
Absolutely. And even our private lenders, people that loan us money for us to be able to do projects. Absolutely. We got about 150 people that want to loan us money as well. So we definitely appreciate you guys for allowing us to be able to do what we do.
And on top of that, so absolutely, like he said, every single house that we acquire, we have a private money lender who's investing up front. And then in the back end, we have you guys, you clients who have worked with us for so long. Some of you guys have been working with us for 5-6 years and 7 years. And it's been a tremendous experience. And we've been able to help several people get to their financial freedom. And there are some of you who are just joining us. In fact, some of you are even thinking to join and work with us. And it's been a pleasure to be able to serve. And again, it's been it's exciting. It's hard work. But it is rewarding when we're able to work together, and usually on every phone call I'm on with a potential client, I tell them that you need to come and visit us because you need to know for sure if we're the type of people you want to have a long-term relationship with. You may get here and you may not like us at all, which is hard to believe, but
you probably would like me, but you won't like Jared.
Absolutely, and that's the truth of it. But then you have people who come and we end up creating those long-term relationships that we're talking about, and so things come up. Like we've always talked about our podcast, things come up, but we get through them, and we've created some great relationships with people that a few years ago we didn't know, and now we're able to work together, and so it's been a real rewarding situation there.
Yes, we definitely appreciate anybody who's ever purchased from us, or anybody who's ever loaned us money, or is part of our investment community.
So that's the podcast. We just wanted to thank you, and we would challenge you to send a thank you to people who have impacted you in your life and in real estate. And so take the time if you can and send an email, send a text, write a letter, and record a podcast. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I do think that there is one person that is overlooked, and I know that this is going to it might come across a little bit like we're trying to ask for something for ourselves. I'm not really asking for anything for me personally, but it doesn't matter if it's us, or maybe you don't even work with us at all. I would recommend you do this if you don't work with us. So this is not asking for something for us or something for our team at all. But I really firmly believe that the upfront part of a deal is only like 20 to 30%. I really believe that. I really believe that the market itself is only 20 to 30% of the deal. I think that the economy is only a really small portion of the deal. Who really holds the deal together and who really makes sure that at the end, are you really going to be profitable or not is a property manager. So, and I really do believe that, I've been at so many conferences, and sometimes it's disheartening a little bit to hear about all the bad things that people don't like about property managers, and it's almost like a game of who can beat up property managers the most.
Sure.
And although I have to agree that there are a lot of bad things about many property managers, and I always say that you only will find, it's just like realtors, like you only find like 20 to 30% of really good realtors, and 20-30% of really good, but the problem is it doesn't matter what profession you're in, it's always the same.
Sure.
So when it comes to property management, it's a hard job because they have two people that have opposite goals and they have to manage both expectations at all times. So that is something that I'm not asking necessarily for you to give something to Cheryl or to tell Cheryl how great of a job she does. But if she's your property manager, I think you should. But I think I really do think that this time of year is a great time to get with your property manager and let them know how much you appreciate them.
We thank you for coming on this journey so far, the Active Turnkey podcast, as we've been trying to provide services for you guys, or information and knowledge, and help you grow your own portfolios. And we appreciate that. We're talking about making some changes here, so you'll see some changes here the next few weeks on our Active Turnkey podcast. But we thank you for joining us. As we've talked about many times, we do build rental portfolios for investors. So if you're interested in getting into real estate and you want to build your portfolio, we can help you with that. You can reach me at jared@buyolsongroup.com, or you can go to our website at buyolsongroup.com. We are going to have the new website up as early as this week. And so we're hoping that certainly before Christmas it'll be done, but we're really excited about that opportunity.
Awesome.
And so you can reach out to me, and also we do have Tom's ebook, or his book on Active Turnkeys, and you can, as he's looking for it, he's got it, and so he wrote the book on Active Turnkey,
the best way to buy a rental.
That's right. And so if you're interested, you can do that, and you can text Turnkey to 415-528-7403. And again, that's text the word turnkey, 415-528-7403, and you can have access to that book.
It's a good book.
It's true.
Actually, I think the most important part of this book to me is the 5-step process to financial freedom. And that's really like what this book is really more about, rather than just turnkeys or active turkeys.
Before we shut down, one last thing. We mentioned last podcast, we do have a referral program. And we've had several of our clients over the last few weeks give us referrals for people in their communities. And if you truly believe in real estate investing, and you know that you can't buy every single house, and so if you'd like to help somebody grow their portfolio, we have a program for you, and we can talk to you more about that. You can reach out to me, and it's also a way to help people in your community as they want to reach their goals as well. So we appreciate you for coming. Active Turnkey,
the best way to buy rentals.
See you guys.
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year's.
Olson Group Network makes no warranty, guarantee, or representation as to the accuracy or sufficiency of the information featured in this podcast. The information, opinions, and recommendations presented in this podcast are for general information only, and any reliance on the information provided in this podcast is done at your own risk. This podcast should not be considered professional advice. Unless specifically stated otherwise, Olson Group Network does not endorse, approve, recommend, or certify any information, product, process, service, or organization presented or mentioned in this podcast, and information from this podcast should not be referenced in any way to imply such approval or endorsement. Any third-party materials or content of any third-party site referenced in this podcast do not necessarily reflect the opinions, standards, or policies of Olson Group Network. Olson Group Network assumes no responsibility or liability for the accuracy or completeness of the content contained in third-party materials or on third-party sites referenced in this podcast, or the compliance with the applicable laws of such materials and/or links referenced herein.